Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev was a very compelling fight to begin with, but it reached a whole new level of intrigue after Costa announced that he just completed an elbow surgery, leaving him sewn up with 10 stitches, and that despite going under the knife recently, he will still step foot in the octagon with Chimaev just 4 weeks removed from being on the operating table. I had a great deal of interest and excitement for the co-main event heading into UFC 294, but my level of interest has now increased exponentially, provided we aren't served with the massive disappointment of this fight getting yanked from under us, which frankly is a real possibility. But allow me to cast that aside for now. In this day and age of the sport where the overexposure of fighters, the steady news cycle, and all of the social media hoopla that goes on, I sometimes catch myself basing my opinion of a fight based off of things that have absolutely nothing to do with the competition itself. It's hard to not get caught up in all of the out-of-the-cage promotional social media nonsense we're constantly having thrown at us day in and day out, especially when it involves polarizing characters like these two, what with all the funny tweets and memes and headlines generated for the sole purpose of fight promotion. I personally lost interest in this sort of thing a long time ago. It just doesn't do anything for me anymore. It was great when it was sort of an outlier and the fighters that partook in such behavior were few and far between and doing it made them stand out. But now it's essentially what every single fighter on the roster is trying to do. It's beyond the point of exhausting and overdone at this point. It really doesn't bring much value to the experience for me. But despite my disdain for the era of the fight game where everybody is trying to be a personality and get attention for everything but what they do in the cage, I still get into the bad habit of letting these out-of-the-cage antics impact my overall feelings on the fights themselves. So needless to say, I was very excited when I caught Paulo Costa's unexpected appearance on the MMA Hour, where he appeared on the show with a demeanor unlike we've ever seen out of him. He wasn't there to crack jokes or to try to be funny. He bared it all in an interview where he stated that the surgery is not going to stand in his way, and that he is certain he's going to smash the biggest hype train in the UFC right now in Khamzat Chimaev. This is something worth getting excited about. Whether you enjoy the social media, soundbite, promo stuff or not, sometimes it's a good idea to just put all that aside and to try to view these individuals based on nothing more than their performances in the octagon. So ahead of this big fight going down at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi, that's exactly what I did. I put down Twitter, pulled up Fight Pass, and watched every single one of both Costa and Chimaev's UFC fights to see what I'd come away with. Since getting word on the surgery and taking into account that he's definitely going to be a major betting underdog in this fight, I found myself focusing on Paulo Costa as I went back to look at the tape. People consider Costa to be a heavy power puncher, and that's exactly what he is. But it's his rear leg body kick that's one of the most utilized weapons in his arsenal. They are fast, technical, and very heavy. It's this very kick that has played a major role in putting his opponents on the back foot, allowing him to move forward with his patented pressure and big, powerful punches. Speaking of his boxing, for such a big, muscle-bound guy, he has the ability to put out a high volume over the course of 3 or 5 rounds if he can manage to be the one who's pushing forward. And if he can be successful in backing you up into the cage, he executes technically beautiful 3 and 4 point combinations where he mixes up cracking you up high and digging into the body with fight-ending intentions. He is way more fluid than I was imagining. The only thing that comes to mind in contrast with Chimaev on that front is that while the technique and the speed and the combos are great, he does like to swing kind of wildly, sometimes a little loopy, which will present an opportunity for Chimaev to duck under for that impossibly explosive double leg that he's had so much success with. But another positive for the big man is that upon rewatching all of his fights, I was surprised at how good his takedown defense was. He defended the takedowns more often than not, and the times that he did get taken down, he popped up very quickly to bring the fight to an upright battle. Granted, he's never fought anyone near the level of wrestling skill that Chimaev possesses. And let me be clear, I'm all in on Chimaev and what he could end up achieving in this sport. But I'm always reminding myself to not be too quick to buy into the hype. While I am a really big believer in the striking offense of Chimaev, the more I watch these fights, the more I really started to see an advantage for Costa provided this fight plays out on the feet for a good portion of the fight. Which, there's absolutely no telling if he's even going to get a chance to mount offense if he ends up on his back. While we've yet to really see Costa in that position, it's really hard to imagine anybody grappling with Chimaev and not getting totally controlled. But remember, us MMA folk have very short memories, and our perspective is heavily based on recency bias. I encourage all of you to go back and watch a tape on both of these fighters before forming an opinion, because if you go back and watch Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns, a fight that was primarily a stand-up contest, Chimaev showed serious issues in his striking defense game. He ate nasty left hooks, straight crosses, kicks to the calf and body, and got dropped and wobbled a few times in that 3-round fight. As dangerous as his striking is offensively, and it is incredibly dangerous, he is a very hittable fighter who is not at all above getting dropped and hurt. He got away with things against Gilbert Burns that he will not get away with Paulo Costa if he chooses to stand or is unable to get the fight to the ground. Costa hits a lot harder than Burns, and he may actually have better technical boxing than him as well. He kicks like a mule and has a wicked fast and accurate overhand right that the taller Chimaev will be susceptible to. So I hope that in light of the news of Costa's elbow surgery, we still get to see these two locked in the octagon together at 294. Because whether you think Costa has a chance to score the upset, think he's going to get smashed, or are totally open to the many different outcomes, the fight between these two just got a lot more interesting.